Well, good afternoon. Some of you may recognise already where I'm going for another walk and hopefully shooting some video. Having another look at another waterfall seems to be a bit of an obsession of mine at the moment. But starting off by this lovely little chapel that's behind me, and if I move the camera in the correct direction, you should see it a bit better. I'll turn it around in a minute, and then we'll be walking down. Hopefully going to end up at the sea. So a little distance away, but not too bad, and we'll be walking down through a very nice glen on the way. So this is the Spooyt Vane Chapel. I think it does have a plate above it that says when it was constructed, but I can't see it from here. Very little picturesque chapel, and apparently it's still complete inside, but it's all sealed up. I don't know what time, when they last had a service in this place. But nice looking, built of stone, and in a very good condition really. And there's an extra little room at the end of it, which I'm guessing may have been a schoolroom. Quite often these little chapels did have a schoolroom attached to them. That could well be what that is. Looks like quite a threatening sky up there, doesn't it? But that's not too bad. I'm on the lane that's going to take me down to the waterfall now, and I think this lane is perennially muddy, and with a fair bit of rain recently, it's maybe a couple of difficult spots to negotiate on the way down, but we'll see how we go. There's a bit of a muddy puddle coming up here at the moment. And we're just approaching the stream that goes over the waterfall on this corner. There's a ford for vehicles. This is a green lane. I think you can legally drive a vehicle down this one. I'm not sure if it's a weight restricted one, but I suspect not. So we're just going to have a quick look at the ford. Unfortunately, there's an alternative way for me to get across, because I don't think I'd actually even want to try and take a vehicle across there. There's a good foot of water, I'd say, across the middle of the ford, so definitely not. So I'm going to turn around and head back a little bit. To where, very conveniently, is a footbridge. It's just like a slab of concrete across with handrails, but it does its task. And that's just looking down the stream. The waterfall actually begins not far past where those trees are across it. You can't see it at all from this direction. And on the other side of the road, I don't know who put this up, there's a little slate stone that says this is the Monk's Road, which has more significance a little bit further along, as we'll see after we've had a look at the waterfall. So, need to go through this gate and then we can head on down to the waterfall. And that's the top of the waterfall, just through these bushes, but you can't really see it well through the bushes. So that's where I'm heading, down there, and got to go for a fairly steep path. Waterfall's completely out of sight at the moment, but it comes into view as we slowly go down the path, which from recollection is fairly steep and slippery. So heading down the path, there are steps, but as often in these places they're fairly uneven at the moment, totally covered in wet and slippy leaves and mud. Don't forget the mud. which is why I'm going down fairly carefully. You can probably hear the waterfall quite well now, and it's just coming into view over on the right hand side. This is about the only spot you can actually see the whole of the waterfall, because as you get down lower, the top half disappears behind. There's like a sort of halfway point on it, and then it's sort of, I imagine there's a pool there, and then it comes down the lower half. But from the bottom of it, when you get down to river level, you can only see the lower half of the waterfall. Actually, this is probably the optimum position to view the waterfall from. And I can see now here there's actually 3 sections to it. Just a bit from further up, the top section was obscured. But yes, a nice view. This is Spooyt Vane anyway. And there we are, we're down at river level now. And you just see the lower 2 sections of the waterfall. In fact, the top section's disappeared again. But not a huge waterfall in terms of height, but it's generally very impressive. And even in the summer, when there's less water coming down, then the water flows off and down the Glen. So I've left the waterfall behind now, climbed back up the path, and you can still hear it in the background. And now going along the path into the Glen, it's crossing a little stream, and in the little clearing ahead we'll come to the next interesting site that's up here. It's one of the keels which were early Christian churches, I think from around the 9th, 10th century. My knowledge of the history isn't that great, but they were like little chapels set up by monks to convert the heathen locals, which probably still mainly followed Norse thoughts on the gods, to Christianity. So every single monk was set up here with a little cell and a little chapel. This one's actually quite overgrown, but there's lots of them around the island. Particularly on upland sort of areas. I'm guessing that most of the people were farmers that lived here, or farmers and fishermen. And the monks would probably establish somewhere a bit out the way, but close to the farmers, so they could encourage them to convert to Christianity. So that's a sort of typical size. You wouldn't get too many people in there. And this is just down here is the entrance. That's all it would be. There's a stone-walled, no doubt thatched roof building with one entrance to come into. And people are also buried around here. On the maps it shows this area as a burial ground, but in general there's no trace of these at all anymore. There is a sign up here that gives you a bit of information about this. So here's the information board, and I stand corrected. It's Cabell Ferrick, which is Patrick's Chapel, and there are sort of stories around that St Patrick came here from Ireland to establish Christianity here, but I don't think there's any information to corroborate that. So it says it's from the 8th to the 10th century. Quite a steep and uneven path here, lots of ferns growing on either side, and it looks to me as if we're going down only to go up again, but maybe there's a junction, maybe there's a choice. We'll see when we get round these corners. And it looks like the path I was going to take is closed. So that's the one that goes further down. Well and truly barricaded off, so I'll be taking the upper path. Looks like we're starting to drop down again now, so I'm hoping that we're going to end up back by the stream. It's quite nice walking through the woodland here, but I'd really rather be by the water. There's always a possibility that the stream has washed away some of the bank around here. Just negotiating what looks like a rather slippery section by these steps. Well, there's a bit of a conundrum when I got to the bottom of those steps. The path went in two directions. This is the path that is closed further ahead, and in fact there's a sign to that effect. It says Riverside Walk Only. Whereas if I turned left, I'd have headed onwards down towards the sea. So we're just going to take the right turning for a little way anyway, and see what it looks like. But the path's had quite a lot of maintenance here, so maybe they're working on the path all the way through the Glen, and they've only got so far with it, and it's closed at that point. We'll see when we get a bit closer. But the stream's just down on my left. Quite a gentle stream at this point. And here's where we drop right back down to the river level again. Right, I think I can see now why the path is closed. It's fenced off here just ahead, just beyond the bench, and you can see it rising up on the other side, but there's a gap. The river's evidently washed the path away, and it'll need rebuilding at some time. Right, I'm heading back now to where the path broke off from the other one, and I don't know if you can see through the trees, there's some stone pillars sticking up. This is where a viaduct took the Manx Northern Railway across the Glen here, and when the railway was closed they sold all the metalwork off for scrap and it was removed. But about 3 years ago our government had quite a clever idea. As most of the track bed is used for walking and cycling, they thought, well, why not put the bridges back again to save people having to climb down to cross over the river and then climb back up again. And it was all looking good. They probably spent a lot of money on having it all designed, and then as quite often seems to be the way, they got cold feet and went, oh no, we can't afford this, and it was all shelved. So that's not uncommon, I think, anyway. They've had it all costed out and spent a lot of money on studies, designs, etc., and then it never actually happens. So that's all we have at the moment. They cleared all of the ivy and other plant work away from it, so you can see the pillars a lot better than you could before. But you can probably see how narrow it is at the top, and just imagine going over that in a train. Must have been quite exciting. Just the area where the ornamental lake was. I don't know if you can just see, there's a wider area of water down there, and I'm not sure if we can see it any better from just a little bit further along the path. But the trouble with all these things, once they're not maintained, the trees and bushes just grow up and tend to obscure it. So, looking quite pretty with the autumn colours on the trees though at the moment. And just along here, as you can probably hear and see, we're coming to a road. This is the main road between Peel and Kirkmichael, and we're just going to cross straight over it and continue down on the other side and down towards the beach. No pony trekking. And here we are at the main road. Going down the tarmac lane on the other side now. And here we cross over the stream again. Cars go through the water, we'll go over the footbridge. And we're shortly coming to the end of the road because we'll be at the beach. You don't really notice it from ground level so much, but this area is in a bowl of sort of in the hills. I'll try and pan slowly around to show you. So this is looking to the north. And that's on the north side. And looking back up the valley on the road. And the land rises up again on the south side. It shows up really well from aerial photographs. I've got a few on the website, including probably some 360-degree panoramas that really illustrate what it looks like. So just about to drop down to the beach. I'm not sure what you'll see in the video because it's quite a wide angle lens here, but over there in the distance is Peel Hill and Peel Castle, and there's some really nice sun rays coming through the clouds over in that direction. And further over to the west I can see the mountains of Mooar. When I was coming across the mountain coming here, got some really brilliant views up to Scotland particularly, which was bathed in sunshine, and could see the Mull of Galloway really clearly and the lighthouse no problem at all. And then the mountains of Mooar, and to the north of them quite a lot of the Northern Irish coast. So this looks like it might be an interesting little problem to solve here. I think I'm going to need to put the camera away while I see if I can negotiate this. The river has evidently come down here at some point and washed a wide gully into the road. Well, I managed to make it down the mini ravine with not too much excitement, so down at the beach level now. Quite rocky around here, but with these sandy bits. This is also an interesting test of the DJI wireless mic that I'm wearing on my jacket. It's got the wind muff on it, but there's quite a reasonable northerly breeze running at this location. So hopefully it'll manage to take most of the wind noise out. just down here is where the stream runs into the sea, which I think is as far as I'm going to go. Just panning around and looking down to the south to Peel Hill. I've just taken a walk along here to the back of the beach by the cliffs, which you can probably see are made of sand, and they erode really easily, so there's big lumps falling down onto the beach just here. It's a constant problem, particularly for the people that either have houses or farm along this coastline. Further north you can often see areas where there's like fences dangling over the cliff edge, where what once were fields have just fallen onto the beach. There's one place where there's a house and they've built actually quite a big stone area around to protect it, and I would imagine that originally the stones were in line with the cliffs, but they stick out quite a long way. You can just see how far the cliffs have eroded around them. Well, I'm about to start heading back up through the Glen, where I don't think I'll be taking any more video going that way, mainly because it's uphill. I don't want the audio to sound like I'm too out of breath. So some nice reflections off the wet sand just down here. A lot of weed washed up on the beach, but that's from the recent storms. There's a large bird just lifted off further down, probably a rook, possibly a raven. You get quite a lot of ravens. Anyway, that's probably it from me for this video, so I hope when it's edited up it looks something reasonable, and that you've enjoyed watching it.